$17 million shortfall, and 3 weeks after it passed, the balance sheet was balanced on 16.1 million of found less expenditures and less and more revenue. But still, the reason we needed to raise the taxes then supposedly did be true.
That's a 30-second no.
See, I told you. With the current budget proposal, I don't see any reason at this point why there would be a need to raise the revenue on the backs of taxpayers.
You really went and somebody going to say yes? Trying to run for election? If this was 5, 7, 8 years ago, when the economy was going down, that would be a different story. The economy's going up. There is more revenue coming in. There's no reason to raise taxes, as I see it, but I'm not on the council today to totally understand the budget.
No,
But you wouldn't be against it.
Be against what it is,
Okay.
sure.
No, I would not be in favor of raising any further taxes or fees. And just to echo what Larry said, I'm in favor of, initiating some sort of zero-based budgeting process. It's where we go down, or the city managers, city department managers go down line by line to justify every single expenditure and to, identify the waste or inefficiencies of what is currently in the budget. Until that is done, there's no, again, my answer is no. I'm not in favor of raising taxes, no.
Yeah, right now, as Mr. Mudner had stated, the economy is on an upswing. We have a balanced budget for 2015. We have frozen for the last 4 years, the city council and myself, we have frozen real estate taxes. There's been no increase in the city portion of the real estate taxes. We've frozen your water and sewer rates. There's been no increases in your water and sewer rates. We have provided discounts to our senior citizens in those water and sewer rates. So at this point in time, there's no reason to even consider increasing the foreign taxes because our budget is balanced. And I think with the recent IKEA coming to town, a 1.4 million square foot distribution facility that's going to service the entire Midwest of all the IKEA stores. We're starting to see business like that relocate to the city of Joliet, so there's a lot of positive things that's going on. I'd like to leave you with a quote that the CFO of IKEA said, like he said in the paper, he said, Joliet is the place he wants to be, that IKEA wants to be. I think that says something. So.
Very good, and the purpose of asking any question that is an obvious no is that you're all on camera. And that we hope that you all live up to that promise and that you can live with that promise now that it's made. Come to the question about jobs. I suppose you could wrap into this, define a good paying job. And you mentioned the warehousing. What kind of jobs does Joliet need to provide a living wage? Is it a warehouse job? Is it a fast food service job? Is it a retail job? What kind of jobs are you talking about bringing to Joliet? I'll start with you, John.
Well, I'll tell you, Wayne, I've done all those jobs. I've been blessed in my life. I've got an education. I have good parents. They stressed in our home that an education is the only way to succeed in this world. As I mentioned before, I've got my accounting degree from Lewis University and currently a CPA. But all those jobs that you've talked about, I've done. I've done as a young person. I did working through college. My first job's out of college. So I think any job is a job. Now, obviously, there are better jobs than other jobs. There are jobs that pay more. But I don't think we should discount, any jobs that provide, because a job can be suitable, for any person in their life. I will tell you this, that over the last 4 years, the city of Joliet has approved building permits that have created over $550 million worth of value, which has created 9,000 jobs.
10
Most
seconds.
of those are construction jobs, and those are good jobs, and we're able to keep those low. So those are the types of jobs that we want to create, but I certainly don't want to discount, any job, that provides a living wage, or maybe helps a college student during the summertime.
Time.
Again, I too don't want to discount, any types of jobs, coming to the Joliet area. But I think what the most important thing is to strive for an environment within the city of Joliet that will create either lower wage paying jobs, higher paying jobs, what have you. But the important thing is to make this city attractive, more attractive to outside businesses, to reduce any bureaucratic hurdles that they might encounter, and so that they will be willing to come to this area with their businesses to create these jobs that we need in the area. Now, having an accounting firm, I deal with small businesses on a daily basis, trust me. I know every day what businesses, small businesses, larger businesses go through. I know the hurdles that they have to face in order to, make a profit, in order to deal with city bureaucracies. So,
10 seconds.
So again, I'm not opposed to attracting a wide variety of jobs to the city of Joliet, but we need to have an environment that's conducive to staff to creating those jobs.
You can come back to this. Go ahead, Pat. You can come back to this, but I'm not hearing an answer. What I'm hearing is rhetoric that says we want good jobs. I'm not hearing a definition of what kind of a job. $13 an hour, for instance, is poverty level, and that's what a lot of warehouse jobs seem to be, range from $13 to $18 an hour. So you can't you can't support a family on something like that. So I'm looking for an answer that says what kind of jobs you're going to bring here, or what kind of businesses are we going to go out and recruit, as was said earlier. There has to be some better definition of job than either temporary jobs or warehouse jobs. It has to be a better definition. So with that in mind, I'll let you answer.
Broaden our thoughts here on this, Wayne. I'm on an economic development council with Jamie also, and it's a federal program where there is money. There's all the money that you need to be retrained for a job. There's in the area, I don't have to have that job right here in Joliet. Our issue here in Joliet is / Will County. More people leave Will County to work either in DuPage or Chicago, which is not bad. We'd like to keep them here because they're bringing their money back here. But how many more opportunities is there going to be in construction? And as John Grill mentioned, it has picked up. So we are a heavy unionized town of blue-collar nature, which is all good. That's what hurt us the most when the economy went down. So that, just the normal increase in the permit that the city has given out is going to help. How well can we attract or develop some type of an industry that is a hands-on type industry? I'm not sure. As being a member of the CED, we're trying to bring in all types of jobs or develop the workforce. There's individuals talking to the city or to the area at all times. Where is the workforce here? Do we have enough trained individuals for this? We all see that the retirement
Do we?
great. Yes.
10 seconds.
I feel we do have enough training. If there are not enough trained, we have trainee dollars available for these people to step in to be a machinist in our area.
I think this is a really tough question, and I'm not so sure that, we're on the road to recovery, to really bringing in jobs where somebody can come into Joliet and raise a family of 3 or 4 and maybe, have a nice home and so on. Because I do think some of the jobs that we're attracting are those $13 to $18 an hour jobs, and in today's world, I'm not so sure that that's the living wage we're looking at. So, as I said earlier, I sometimes wonder, and this would be a question that I would pose. Here we are sitting on the corner of 80 and 355. We're sitting on 80 and 55, the major highways. If you look at other towns, you see that they've developed tech corridors, and they've developed, brought in industries and big businesses and huge corporations And yet, we're bringing in warehouses and restaurants and other types of business and saying that's prosperous. So I'm not sure what the Burr Ridge and the Naperville and even the Aurora, if you go to Aurora, you see a big industrial corridor going up there where they have the Navistars and all these headquarters along their highways. Why, when we're sitting on at one time as the busiest highway intersection in the world, why we can't attract those kinds of things where people would be working for these kinds of corporations and making good dollars, and also bringing in professional people into Joliet. I think sometimes the problem with Joliet, and I'm a lifelong resident, is that we look at ourselves and we do things as second class, and we say we can't compete with Naperville and Burr Ridge and Aurora, and so we'll settle for the $12 an hour job.
10 seconds.
And we'll be happy. So as I said before, I think we need to get aggressive. Where are Dow Chemicals and some of these other places? Do we have the workforce? We have Joliet Junior College, which is a phenomenal place that can do a lot of training for people here. We have people who can train them to do these things, but just not aggressive enough training in the right industry.
I'll try to do this in 200 words or less. First of all, burger joints, grocery stores, restaurants are not, for the most part, jobs that sustain families. You need to bring jobs in that sustain families, and then that level of pay, you then go to the lower paying burger joints. And that's why when I was growing up, burger joints were ran by teenagers. So, first of all, nobody in city staff or city council should take any credit whatsoever for Center Point's expansion. Whatever the jobs were, they range from $8 to $18 an hour. That's done by an economic development director. I think his first name is Eric, who works for Center Point. Center Point basically tells Joliet, move on the way. We've got it under control. When I go out here and hear people taking credit over at the mall, and Terrence had mentioned the mall. Terrence, that's not enough per day. We're not a socialist society. That's all privately owned, and guess what? They have their own economic development director out there selling their properties. Guess what the city of Joliet doesn't have? An economic development director. We don't have anybody that will get on a plane and fly to California to see what we do. So Wayne, to answer your question, the jobs that have been coming in are good for a purpose, but not the purpose you're describing, not to support families. Those jobs come more at the commercial level, in good industry. How do we get it here? We have to go bring it here. You have to have an economic development director that I call the salesman or saleswoman of the city who's got to chase these down. When we hire, and I have a plan to hire an economic development director that will actually, it's basically do some shuffling in the planning department, where we'll be able to hire them and it won't cost us anymore.
10 seconds.
So with that said, we need to hire a professional economic development director who I never see in their office. They're out there bringing the jobs you're describing, Wayne, back to Joliet.
Instead of adding another person to the staff of the city, I think you should put somebody on the city council who works in higher education. Because everything we do every day is focused on what gives a person who's straight out of college a good paying job. Wayne, you asked what can sustain a family, I'll tell you exactly what can sustain a family. Computer engineering, bioengineering, criminal justice, healthcare, IT services. Those jobs are on Forbes' top 10 list of top pay, and that's what you're looking at when you're trying to support a family. And part of why I wanted to run for city council is because as an IT person, I'm tasked with the idea of looking forward, visionary. Brett mentioned the IT corridor on I-88, and that's always on the top of my list because I'm there a lot for my job. Those sorts of opportunities are something that I think the city of Joliet could look for if they have people on the council who are actually focused in that manner. And in my industry, in higher ed, we don't exist if we don't have alumni who don't go out and get good paying jobs. And
10 seconds.
In today's market, it just seems like everyone's trying to push education. Well, education is leading to those good paying jobs, and those are the industries exactly that should be targeted.
Thank you. It's 4 by my count for an economic development director. We're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about the downtown and as the Will County government views it. They've indicated that if they build a new courthouse in downtown Joliet, it will need some financing from the city. And since everyone is committed to not raising taxes, where will that revenue source come from? And we'll start with Pat.
It would need to come somewhat from the occupant of the building, which would be the county. The county obviously is paying for some services now. We would need to see what more services they would need to stay here and what fee structure could be added to them. Being that I have not been on the city council and haven't looked at the financial arrangement that the city has with the county, I'm not sure, Wayne. I'd have to see.
Well, just for clarification purposes, let's just assume that the county wants to see a dollar figure. We'll say it's a few $1 million. I mean, what are we going to do in order to generate that revenue source? I mean, that's what I think we're looking for. We want to know all of these projects are going to require a revenue source. Some of it will come internally. Obviously, rents will pay some of the cost of Evergreen Terrace. Rent pays a very minuscule cost at Silver Cross Field, but sometimes that's not possible. And the courthouse, building a courthouse, or adding to the current structure is going to cost the county money, and they're looking for money from us. So that's really what I'm looking for. I can give you another minute to talk about that.
The fee structure for filing has been increased to help offset what the county portion of that would be. We as a city would have to get in line with them to say some of this additional fee for whether it's a fine or a filing would have to be coming to the city then to use that money to offset our additional costs with the county. But I'd have to sit with the county, with the heads of the finance committees, with Jim Hawk and the rest of the heads of the city to look at where they're projecting our revenue to come from.
Brett?
I'm not really sure how much the county would be asking the city to contribute. I do know, though, that we cannot lose the courthouse and the county services in downtown Joliet. Many years have been put in, and lots of money and millions of dollars have been put into keeping downtown viable. If we would lose the courthouse, and we would lose the legal services in downtown Joliet, downtown Joliet would be the next ghost town in the United States. I'm not sure what money they would be asking us to contribute. We would need to work something out with them, whether it's parking revenue, a revenue sharing agreement with them. But I do think the city would have to commit to keeping the courthouse and county services in downtown Joliet if we want to keep downtown Joliet viable. There may be some partnership agreements that are out there that the city could enter into that might help defray some of the costs. I'm not sure what fees that the county is planning on adding
10 seconds.
to their services, and we can maybe take part of that and contribute back to the county and the building. But I do think that's where the county leadership and city council and from the mayor's office and on the county end to keep those services in downtown Joliet. We want to keep downtown Joliet a viable place.
Come back this way.
You know, when I first read that story where the courthouse, they were thinking of, looking at other property outside the city of Joliet to move, the first word I could think of was extortion. Okay, we all realize that the courthouse is a very important and central institution within the city of Joliet. What we would have to do as a city, the city leaders would have to aggressively negotiate with the courthouse because, quite honestly, they probably do have a silver barrel. In the sense that if they left, it would, things would dry up in the downtown area, and I think the county knows this. So I think we would have to negotiate aggressively, and then again, it's just like with anything else. I said earlier, I'm not in favor of raising any taxes, so that means that we'll have to prioritize where we spend our money. We're going to have to go back to that budget and see where our funds are going. But again, without having a firm dollar figure, it's difficult to say, whether that's, would be budget and seeing where, where we, need to make some cutbacks in order to accommodate the courthouse.
It's obviously, it's imperative that we keep the courthouse in downtown Joliet. It's about a $200 to $250 million capital investment that we certainly don't want to see leave. But I think, there are a couple things that we can look at. First is, I think, and I will tell you, because I've spoken with these people, the county's looking for more than just a monetary investment as far as dollar amounts. We're going to have to give them that, but they're also looking for a commitment from Joliet to its downtown. For example, they want to make sure that we're maintaining our infrastructure down there, and we are. We're looking at Wi-Fi and that sort of thing in the downtown area, fiber optics. They want to see that we're investing in ourselves. Okay? They also want to make sure that we're investing in our cultural society. For example, like the Rialto. If they see us disengage from things like that, believe me, the county's going to say, you know what, the city of Joliet's not even committed in itself. Why should we be committed to them? So that's part of it. The second thing, as far as monetarily, there's more than just bricks and sticks that goes into building the courthouse. Okay?
10
There are permit fees. We can waive those permit fees. We're not taking anything out of our general fund. It's just dollars that we would not have coming in. We would waive those permit fees. Tap-on fees. This could be in the millions of dollars that we would waive, that we would not have to go into our general fund to pay for. And we get that money back. Think about it. A $200 million capital improvement project with all the trades that are put to work and all the jobs that it's creating, we would get that money back tenfold. But I think instead of thinking of writing them a check, we basically want to waive certain fees that every developer would have to pay.
Time.
Tap-on fees, permit fees.
That way.
First of all, we can't buy evergreen terrace and maintain the county compound. Second of all, the county already receives savings from the city, because if they were to build, if they have to build as they're heading that direction, buying the bank, the First Midwest Bank, if they were to build elsewhere, it would cost them $30 to $40 million more on green space. So the question then would be, the next committee, how much do they give equivalent to that, plus that $30 to $40 million extra expenses? And that's a big ticket. Now, John down there made a good point. It's not about just the cash. It is about tap-on fees, building fees, water. Once they're, the buildings are in, there's ways that we can give them millions of dollars. And we've already got a few. I'm not going to take that too much. There's already been some discussions in the city manager and some offers, not concessions, but some benefits that we've offered them to do with water and sewer and other infrastructure. So it's not necessarily a complete writing of a $20 million check. It might be a $15 million investment in what we just described over the next 15 or 20 years. That's what they may be looking for. And like I said, right off the top, they're going to save $30 to $40 million.
Terry?
I don't think that moving the courthouse is one of the people in my district, we were talking about this issue. She really flippantly said, why don't we move the courthouse out of town? And I don't think the issue is that simple. I tend to agree with folks who think that the courthouse should be downtown. I know that, you've asked the revenue question twice now, and Pat asked the counter question, who are the ones that actually say that they're for taxes? And really, the idea of zero-based budgeting is to try to find places or opportunities where savings can be made was the first thing on my mind as I examined the 2015 budget of the city. I was going through, looking at all the different line items, thinking, where can we share equipment, or where can we share, where do we share other aspects to make small cuts that might over time add up to big cuts that would save us money. That's a way of not necessarily increasing revenue, but at least bring some of our costs down.
The city, this goes to public safety. The city has had 10 murders since Thanksgiving, not including the man police were forced to shoot when he pulled a gun fleeing from a crime scene. there have been many instances where guns have been fired at people, houses, and cars, and police. Why does the city have this kind of crime problem? What are your suggestions for making it stop? And I think just to kind of expand on that, clarify it even more, we are the fourth largest city. We seem to have a bigger crime problem than all of the surrounding communities. How do we solve that? Let's start with Terry down there.
This issue is something that's personal to me growing up in District 5 with our cameraman. We had a mobile police unit in our neighborhood. So I understand what community policing can bring to an area if it's done swiftly. And if it's done flexibly, like it was done back in the 80s, where that station was on the corner of 2nd Union Street, and it changed our lives overnight. So if we do have crime or certain issues with violent crime, I'd like for our police department to have the funding and the flexibility to move quickly, like at least what I saw in the 80s, to try to solve those problems really fast. It also sends a pretty clear message to residents that, hey, we can establish a base here real quick, and we can take it away if we need to try to show the bad guys that, hey, we need business. But that involves providing funding, flexibility, training, and also a sense of vision. But I grew up under that paradigm, and I'm definitely interested in it.
As I said before I opened up, family and finances. Now we're full circle. Protecting our families and finding the finances. Actually, it was in the 90s that the NLPT really started to develop and take off. It was fully staffed, as well as the increase in our gang and violent crime unit. Both are still down. We are not at full staff in LPT, and if I remember the numbers off the top of my head, I think our gangs and violent crime unit used to be as high as 27 or 28 without the line. That unit brings an intel on gang activity. Many of the murders, if not all, many of the murders are simply gang related. And we have lost that intelligence. We have lost the ability for them to be in the community, gathering that intelligence and being preemptive. So simply put, as I've been saying for a couple of years, several years, we need to restock our police department. We're down 45 men and women who would do such things as LPT, who would be involved in the gang unit or the violent crime unit, who would take a bullet for you. We're down 45 staff. So we need to look at our priorities, do some shifting out of other departments, make sure that that department staff, so that we can bring back the NLPT, the gang, and the violent crime units back to full staffing. Because I had some of the administration from the police explaining it. As they built those units, they saw crime go down. And as the units got gutted, they saw crime go back up. There's a direct correlation.
I also am a big advocate of neighborhood-oriented policing and community policing. I believe we need to restore the numbers of our policemen back to the pre-recession numbers, so that our areas are safe and can build better area. So I think that's only part, and that's one of the reasons I am supported by the joint police and joint fire police and also the local county sheriff's department. But that's only part of it. I think we cannot just say policing alone is solving that issue. We also need to bring in those high-paying jobs to our community. When we see that we have these kinds of jobs, the crime rate, I believe, will fall. And also, I also believe Joliet needs to take a look around and clean itself up and take a little pride in our towns. When you drive around some of our neighborhoods, when you drive around and look at our streets, and you see buildings with broken windows, streets falling apart, garbage along the curbs and gutters, weeds along Interstate 80 that are this high and no one takes care of, we start sending that image that this is a careless, carefree, run-out, rag-out city. And I think all of those things contribute to the increase in crime. So yes, increase in policing and more police is key, but we also need to be a city that brings in good jobs, that you don't need to resort to crime. And we also need to look at our city and clean up our city so we have pride in our neighborhoods and we don't tolerate gangs and crime in our neighborhoods.
Pat?
Of course, I'm for safe streets and police protection, but I believe in the team concept. I believe that we should get all the parties involved, all the heads. I have not heard from our police chief on how he would like to see it go. I've heard from councilmen that we're down from where we were in the number of police. I don't know if that number was correct before or if it's correct today, if we need that. I'd like to hear from the chief and then from city manager on what their